Alright, alright, alright. We're out of time. We're out of time. Oh god, oh god. Okay. Okay, bottom screen. Let me, I was on Facebook and my friend has a Twitch stream, so I just want to record what their Twitch stream is in my notes really quick. Okay, so what are we getting to today? Like, what's going on here? Well, let's go back to the title screen for a second. So we're going to use the O key to invoke a library method in this sub-library called PixSave, and it's going to save the current data within any single subsystem. But it's going to use whatever the active subsystem is, or something like that. So let's go over here. Let's reorganize our windows here for a second here. And let's remove the chat box because no one's talking to us right now. Right, so ask me anything. Today really isn't a boring day. It's actually an interesting kind of day. So today, what we're doing is PAINT5D save using O key, right? That is what we're doing right now, so why don't we make a little title there. It's Saturday, the 16th, and the video is video number 95. That all checks out, so we're ready to go. So the first thing we want to do, I think, is just to get a clean slate. We got like all these files open. I think it's about time to close some of these files and just remember where we were, right? Because we got all this stuff open. It's cluttering up our business. Let's close everything, right? So let's just close all this stuff that we've had open for weeks on ends, and start off with a fresh slate, and open up what we need. So we want this module called PixSave, but before we do that, let's double-click. Let's make sure this still runs, make sure it still compiles. We don't want to build on a broken foundation. Boy, this is it's my hard drive taking time. There we go. All right. Okay, so everything's running, or appears to be running. So that's good enough for me. So we're going to open up the main C11 file here. And we're going to put it on the left because this file is pretty much a data file if you think about it. Data on the left, functions on the right. And we already made a note that we want to make this PixSave struct, or not struct, but this PixSave sub-library inserted here. So we have PixName and PixSave, and PixName is where we have all the data allocations. So right here, PixName is where we have all those data allocations. So we want to make a PixSave that's going to save those pixels. PixBackup is for the RAM usage, right? PixBack is for loading and storing things in the RAM, and this is for saving to disk, right? So PixSave and PixBack are very similar in what they do. It's just that where they do it is different, right? So in PixSave, the thing we want to back up, particularly, if we go into the library and look at the PixName data, it is this allocation right here, this PAINT5D memory allocation, is what we want to back up when we have the PAINT5D system active. Okay, so now that we know kind of what's going on here, let's start to stub this code in. So let's go back here, and let's go to the libraries, and let's create the stubs for these files. So new text document, and we're going to say PixSave.d for data. And then we're also going to do something similar. New folder, or new text document. We're going to say PixSave.f for functions. Then after we have these ready, we're going to open them up, and then split them into the correct editors. And why do I only have one editor open all of a sudden? It's probably because I closed the last tab and it just automatically closed. I don't know why. Let's just move the function file over here and forget about how we just lost our other editor somehow magically. Okay, cool. So PixSave.f and PixSave.d. I don't know what the heck this is. Ooh, that's not good. Our editor's about to crash on us. Oh, I see. So at some point, something happened. I don't know what happened here. Let's just open up this data file. And how are we going to do this? We're going to have to... This sucks. Okay, so we're in a little snag here. So this is on the left. This needs to be on the left. Okay. You know, context switching, right? This is why when you start something back up, you have a little context switch, right? We lose some efficiency every time we have to start something again, right? So now that we started this stream, we lose some efficiency. There's a startup cost to doing this, right? But at the same time, you get mentally fatigued if you go for hours and hours, so little breaks are good. Okay, so we have these things stubbed in here. There's nothing here yet. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a data-only function-only class. Function-only subsystem. Nothing here in PixSave.d, right? So it should be a function-only subsystem, so there should be nothing here, but for consistency, we want a D file and an F file for everything. And then here, we want like a first function. So first function is typically halt. Not always, but typically halt. Really? Let's just do first function is halt. Oh, I see. Let's make a note. So first function always halt. So not typically halt, it's always halt. Is that always true? I don't know if that's always true, but let's add that to our snippets, and then remember that we're going to, what snippet we're going to use here. So it's been a long time since I created a new file. So ffah snip, and we have just a little stub. Ooh, that's not the one we want to use. Yeah, yeah, this is an old snip. We don't really use this one anymore. I gotta make a note of that. So, old... halt is usually first. Let's try halt is usually first. Yeah, 489 paste. So 489 paste. Yeah, this is what we want. So, yeah, so that's what we're using now. And if we find, I gotta make a change here. So I'm gonna make some notes here. Sorry, it's I want to make sure that I refactor my shortcuts here a little bit. Okay, cool. So I just refactored my shortcuts to make note of this is what the first function is. And what we're going to do is we're just to take the PixSave. So PixSave, this is lowercase because it is a private function. And it's the halt function for PixSave. So we'll do fatal error AAC 2020, PixSave, and then some type of error message. That's actually out of bounds. So we're going to use, like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't really matter what this part is. Then we need a logging function. So logging is typically second, but I'm going to guess that isn't going to work. Info any paste is what we want to use. So use info any paste 2020 01 06. How about log is typically second? Do we have that? Yeah, how about logging is typically second? So let's just take these here and use them as synonyms for our shortcuts. And I'm going to paste this note into my shortcut file, so next time it'll be a little bit easier to find that info any paste command in my macros. So let's do info any and paste. And there, so we have log after halt, right? So halt is typically the first function, and then we do logs after halt. So we have a little bit of boilerplate, but we've decided that for messages, we only want 2 categories of messages. One type of message is going to crash the system, and another type of message doesn't crash the system. And we're going to keep it to that, right? We're not going to make a whole bunch of different logging overloads, which we used to. We did in some of our code, but then it blows out of control. So to keep it simple, we just have 2 categories of logging messages. Keep it really coarse-grained. So PixSave, and right here we're going to say PixSave info any, and right here we're going to say PixSave log. So PixSave log, and that's all we need to get this kind of working. Well, I mean, no, there's more to it than this, but well, this is basically what we need. We also need an init function. So if we look at any other code, right, let's take PAINT5D, which we've been working on. Let's take that as a reference for what an init function should look like. So underscore init, and we should be able to find the init function. So that's not what I expected. Yeah, so AAC 2020 PAINT5D init. Initialize PAINT5D. So we're going to make another section over here, similarly named initialize. I can't spell initialize. Paint, or not PAINT5D, PixSave, right? So this is going to be where we're going to initialize, write our initializer code. And yeah, so from here, let's kind of copy some of this, copy paste, right? So this is the basic template for what we want, and we'll call this PixSave. And then we're just going to return 0. So eventually we might use this for something, but you know, that kind of violates Yagni. It's not too much work, though, to do this, so we're going to do it. And also, we want to be consistent with how we've been doing it, and this is the convention we've kind of stuck with. So for consistency, we just have to use this unused variable here and return 0. And then in the future, we might have, we might do something with it, but for now we don't. So define U32 right here, and then right here we're going to undef U32. And I don't think we actually need any initializer code for this. Just a function library static singleton functions. No init code is really needed. Oh, you know what? If no init code is really needed, if that's what we really think, then we change this init to init none, right? So that way, if you search for an initializer function for this system, you won't find it, but at least you'll stumble upon what it's not what you were looking for. This is not what you were looking for, but it's what you needed, right? So when you look for this, it's not what you find this, not what you're looking for, but it's what you needed, right? So we want to write our code in a way that facilitates people being able to easily kind of search through that code. So let's make a note of when we did this. just for the sake of just having kind of like video timestamps in here to keep an idea of the history of when we created everything, right? So 1640, yeah. So like I said, this function probably does not need any initialization logic in it, so we're going to name it init none rather than init. Okay, then we can put pixel saver exporting utility functions. Big section name, but I just want to kind of be verbose and apply enough context clues to kind of help you know what this section is about. So all of our different save functions should kind of go in here. So we're going to have potentially a lot of different saver functions for all of the different systems. And the reason why we can reference future systems within PixSave is because PixSave is just going to back up stuff that is in PixName. And PixName kind of has this foresight of knowing what's going to exist in the future. So it's kind of a violation of the library chain, but not quite, because in order to violate the library chain, we would have to have a library that references code that comes after it, right? And that's not what we're doing, but in a way where we are referencing a system that doesn't exist yet by pixel saving the system data, but that's perfectly fine. It's kind of awkward and strange, but it doesn't violate our library chain rules in the strict sense. It is a little bit weird, and you could say that it's in a gray area, but strictly speaking, it does not violate the library chain to create this pixel saver that can back up all of the different systems data. The reason why we put PixName here and kind of like clustered all of these different allocations in one location, even for systems that don't exist yet, right? 2do2 and 2do3. The reason why we clustered it here was because we thought that isolating everything here like this gives us a nice overview of like a broad overview of the entire system, right? So show me your code and I'll have no clue what you're doing. Show me your tables and I won't need to see your code. That's kind of the philosophy I'm going with here, to just have a high-level overview of what's going on. Okay, so now that we have this, we need to make use of the file boy, because file boy is going to have the utilities that we need to actually save things. So if we look at file boy halt, info string, make one directory, private, recursive make directory, touch file. Maybe we didn't do that. Maybe we don't have. It looks like we don't have everything we need in file boy, huh? I mean, that's fine if that's the way we want to roll with it. It's just that I was expecting to find it here, and I didn't find it here. So, I think that we should probably make a function here I don't like how I did this. Did I do that at the top too? IS and... Oh yeah, I see, okay. So this code is a little bit older. What we should do is, I definitely think that if we look at our library chain to see kind of what libraries we have, I'm pretty sure we should have a save PNG and FileBoy, right? Because it's file system access. And then we can wrap the load PNG kind of functionality within there. Yeah, I think that would be the most sensible option. So, we know that somewhere we have some functionality to save a PNG file, so we should... Yes?
Are you... No pressure, but are you eating with us?
Is that real hair?
I'm sorry?
Is that real hair?
Somebody's hair. Yes, it's a wig.
Okay. Am I eating with you? I could stop up and make a plate, but I don't eat till 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should I set a plate for you so you can serve yourself and then?
Oh yeah, I could be up really quick. I need to get to a good. I'll get to like a quick break point or whatever.
Okay,
So.
we're not sitting down yet.
Okay, well just yeah. Whenever you're sitting down, then I'll find a good stopping or a break point because I'm like only 20 minutes into the session.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let you know.
Okay, so all right, so let's look at in main. I think we have yeah, test save file PNG is probably has some code for this, and we can see AAC 2020 test save file PNG. To do a bit big for the stack. Oh yeah, this is a bit big for the stack, isn't it? So this looks like everything we actually need for saving a file, and so we could move this into, and we even have a place to put it. So there's some hard-coded stuff here, but this is a good template to work off of, right? Because we already know this kind of stuff works. Yeah, we already know this stuff works, so we're going to steal this code, right? This is my code reuse. Steal some code and change it. We know that works, so we're going to go and say, right, Pixel Saver could have specific saving methods, whereas FileBoy could have just a general method, right? And since Pixel Saver references FileBoy, no matter where you look for looking for saving using saving pixels, if you think it's in FileBoy or you think it's in PixSave, either or, you'll find it because we use PixSave as a higher level abstraction, and then we go a little bit lower level in FileBoy. So I think I like that because that way, in the future, when we are trying to find this code again, right, FileBoy and PixSave are definitely two valid places to look for pixel saving code. So to have some remnants of it in both places, I think is actually going to help us organization-wise. So, so we're going to call this save a PNG file to disk, is what we're going to call this section here. And then we're going to go over this and just kind of modify it a bit. So make sure that these macros don't exist because inside this code, because that could break it. Okay, so within here, we're not going to call it AAC 2020 test file, save file, whatever the heck. We're going to rename it, right? So it's going to be AAC 2020 file boy, and it's going to be save PNG. And right, when I have an abbreviation, I hate camel case mixed with acronyms, or I guess this is technically an initialism, PNG. So this is actually a camel case function with an overload of PNG. So it's a save file. Now, what do we have here? Do we have anything called save file? Maybe we just want to call it save file PNG. Because we got touch file, we got whatever the heck's. Yeah, let's call it save file PNG. It's not too long of a name, and it also makes it more obvious that this is camel case, right? A capital S doesn't quite make it obvious that this is camel case. So save file PNG, and then all this code should already work, but this array here is a bit big for the stack. However, this pixel array, we're going to give it as a parameter this time, right? We're going to give it as a parameter, and what do we want to do? How do we want to save it? Do we want to say the file name comes first or the data comes first? How do we do everything else? Touch file has a file name. Make dir takes a string. Make one directory. This all takes a string. So I think that the file name coming first makes sense. In general, file name specific the data. Trying to justify that, but really it's mostly an arbitrary decision, but we gotta decide on something and kind of stick with it. So char pointer, file name, file name with extension or file name no extension. We're going to assume that the file name has an extension, I think. And the reason for that is because it'll just make the code... The code's going to be easier to read if we include the extension, right? If we're like control-Fing through the code base or searching through the code base for strings, having that .png as part of the file name, I think would make it easier to find where it's being referenced. So we're going to do file name with ext. Oh, so we just have a... That was back when we were using kanji, right? Like, there's a reason... Right, there's a reason why my name is called Kanji Coder, and I used to use, like, little kanji for all of my different variable names. And, you know, I've long forgotten most of what those symbols, what I use these symbols for, but the idea is that this symbol has one very specific meaning, and that way we can create really terse code if every single kanji has a very specific meaning. But the thing is, that's crazy code, totally unmaintainable, because, you know, years go by and you forget what those symbols were. So, we're going to say, I'm going to do this nofwex, so, I don't know. Name of file with extension. We're just going to make up something. And then we're going to go into our shortcuts really quick, and we're going to document this, right? Because this is obviously a very weird name. So, nofwex, if we type it like this, then we want some feedback that says, hey, you did that right, buddy. And if we do something similar enough, then we'll just correct it. And if we do it backwards, wexnof, or wexnof, or, oh, hold on, wexnof, or wexnof, then we're going to say backwards, use nofwex, name of file, including extension, with extension. So nofwex means, nofwex means, and nofwex means, that should be enough. And if we type this, confirmation that that is indeed what we typed, and then we'll say name of file with extension, right? We should probably have something without the extension. So, name of file next for no extension. Or, next looks like next. So let's say instead of wex, we'll do nox, right? So name of file no extension. And nox, right? If we type this, then we're going to do u plus bonds hexa. Well, that's just going to give us a checkbox. And we're going to do kind of all the same stuff here. So really, let's just steal this stuff here and make a template. and this is the template. And we're going to look for nof and we're going to replace it with nof. Oh, we did that totally backwards. Oh, we're going to look for... Oh, we can't... Never mind. We're trying to save time, but it turns out that it's not just one single token, so that's actually going to be difficult. So, nof, we're going to bite the bullet and just type this out. So, nof. Okay. And if we type it backwards, nox, or nox, or nox, backwards, use nof, name of file, no extension. And then, you know, nof means, and nof means. If you do that, name of file, no extension. Okay. So we have one more thing we need to do, unfortunately. We were thinking that we would do something like this and say no extension next, but we thought that looked kind of confusing. So if you do nof next, looks too much like next, so use nof, right? And if we do the backwards version of this, so next nof, and next nof, backwards and wrong, use nof, right? So just a little thing so that if we do eventually type this other thing, we know what to do, right? So the next thing is we want to make sure we can actually find this in the future, right? And it's such a weird acronym that the chances of finding this are slim. So we're going to do file name, no extension. And that's weird. I thought that would actually be a shortcut. So file name, no extension. Oh, it's because it's X'd, right? So no extension, we're going to do nof wex, right? Without extension. Okay. So file name without extension. Okay. And file name with extension. File name using extension. And so this is the with extension. And then there's nox for no extension. So nof. Nof. But where was the other thing that originally got us here? So file name no ext, right? Was that what we used? Yeah, file name no ext. So we're going to find this shortcut, and we're going to modify it because it needs to be... this is kind of old stuff. So this thing here, we're going to get rid of this kanji here. And just say, you know, file name no ext kanji, fnne kanji, and file no ext kanji, right? So we're gonna just move it over here and specify that this is now, you need to specifically specify it's the kanji now, right? So we're not gonna get rid of all the kanji we used to use, but we're going to replace it with our English version. So we're gonna say that this is going to be name of file and no extension. So nox for no extension, right? And then we had another thing for file name with extension, right? File name with ext. Oh, it's right up here. So let's steal this. Oh, let's steal this right here. And paste it down here, and we'll paste these and just further qualify that it needs to specify that we're looking for a kanji if we do this. So we're going to take this right here, and we're just going to go like bam, bam, and bam, and paste line for this. Okay. Also, we might want to make a note of that when this was inserted. So inserted date 2021-01-16. So our shortcut script we've been using has been around for 4 years now. I've been using this for 4 years, so technically I have a bachelor's degree in shortcut scripts now. You know, with the time commitment I've put into this shortcut script, this is ridiculous, but it's really cool. I think that this shortcut script really helps me not forget code. Like, oh, hey, what's that piece of code I wrote 5 years ago? Like, I'll be able to find it. I'll be able to find it quickly. So file name with extension is going to be name of file and wex for with extension, right? So if we look for nofnox and nofwex, we should be able to find it. So nofwex and all over the place. Yeah, so nofwex, and if we look for nofnox, right? So nofnox is right here. Yeah, we can find it everywhere it needs to be. And so you can see this is shortcut 2000 something. We are way past that by now. We're like somewhere in the range of 30,000 shortcuts, maybe more. We're definitely past like 30,000 shortcuts. Like, it's ridiculous how many shortcuts we have. We have more. This shortcut file contains more lines of code than the code base I'm working on. That is crazy. It also shows how much you can spin your wheels before you get a nice refined piece of code, right? So this whole shortcut thing could be thought of all the thoughts that I ever have in one single file. Okay, so we have that kind of we have that documented now. Let's move this back off screen now, and name of file with extension. Excellent. So where are we going to put this? So we should have like a hard code here. So file PNG is like mod plus this. And we want to merge together create use the let's call this use the lowercase token, and then where we see this, we're going to do file PNG, or actually we're calling it file PNG, or we're going to use nofwex. So anywhere we're here, we're going to say that actually, no, we're going to take file PNG, and we're going to try to construct file PNG. We're just going to keep it as similar as possible. And it's just the name of the file. It doesn't contain the path or anything. So we want to combine them, combine those two strings, and it should be sprintf or something like that. So we want to do like a sprintf, and we want some type of buffer, and then we want to write the characters. Let's just not even worry about that. Let's just mash it together. Let's just brute force this and do it directly because I don't know what the command is. Create full relative file path. So right in here, we're going to create a relative file path. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take int32, you know, len name of file equals strlen and noflex, right? So we're going to take the length of this that does not include the null terminator.
I got him. Oh, thanks.
Hello. Okay, hold on. So int32 len
Come get your food.
len, we'll call this len base, and we'll do strlen, and we'll actually encode this. We'll do /mod /, right? Because we're gonna stick these two strings together, right? So we're gonna hard code it like that, just to make it kind of dead simple here. And then we know the total, the int32 len all equals the len number of the, sorry, name of file, and the len of the base. And we'll have to do a malloc of some sort. So we'll have to do like a malloc, you know, something, 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 and then len all +1, right? Because a +1 for the null terminator and whatnot. So I'm going to take a quick break to make a plate of food, but I don't eat till 9, so I'm just going to make a plate of food. So let's do break screen, and we're not...
15 minutes tops.
It said 15 minutes tops, supposedly, so let's do red timer. Let's open up the timer really quick. And we're going to set this to 15 minutes.
All right.
Okay, we'll be back.
Let's go.
Oh! Goddamn it.
Please be careful. I finished my homework.
I see. Good job.
Now everybody, let's go.
The original one up. Yeah, go ahead and call me Mario. Smash tag so raw, I leave you breathless like some cardio. You brothers wanna brawl? Bring it hard, we'll kick your tail, dude. Call the ambulance, I'll beat you back into a GameCube. Shooting lyrics off like fireballs, you throwing all day. Turns your mind into a cartridge, blown away. Lift my acclamation, I see your admiration. You're about to see a cancellation, this your final destination.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain rapping, who be burning up tracks like a brash combatant, trying to challenge the Falcon for the top of the pile. Dude, the king of eagles even jocking my style. Now you show me your moves when I think I seen them before. But try to test me, you get an FG0. Cause I take them to Mutant City just to zip up the yap. I come in first, then second on the victory lap. Oh. Yeah, we going crazy. Yes. Either you is a man or you is a baby. See who play, lay either way.
I stop what you're doing, cause I'm the Pikachu, and I'm here to hit y'all with an electric boogaloo. The girls say I'm cutin', of course they would know, cause I got master balls and I put them in show. For real, yo, you ain't no contender, get your ass thunderclapped into a Pokemon Center. Pika P, I'm the one you can't catch. Run along, kid, you need a gym bag.
Yeah, I see how you be shedding them tears. You be eating my dust, getting all up in your eyes. You never see me disappear. Come on, I paid the cost to be the boss. There ain't no limit to me. Don't you dare try to get me doggy style. With my nizzo, I'll go shizzo. You best recognize Carissa when you playing fire. Come on, yeah, we going crazy. Either you is a man, you is a baby. See who play, lay all the way. When Falco bust rounds, the fence get shut down. My pillars are the foundation of rush down. Touchdown like a whirlwind, shine like lightning. Then take the arrogant. The bluebird dictates the skies like the red berry. I'm arrogant, greatest all-wing pilot to ever fly. Your lyrics raise the show up like the beacons when I'm speaking. I used to dog fight with space safes on the weekend, but I got the invitation, now I smash with DK&M.
Ness is in the spot, better go and get your matter up. Anything he hits a home run. Battle dodge out of the way when you think you okay. Your terrible gaming has led you astray. When I hit the BK, I'll watch you decay. You yelling Mayday, there's no getting away. BK Thunder, make it rain. You ain't ever gonna be the same. When you witness the usage of all my power drains, had to make them earthbound, cause you know I'm really on it. And I bring a lot of flair. Let's be honest.
I'm an alien with a ship. I crash landed, broke the whip. I'm trying to get a grip, but I can't figure out which Pikmin is which. Even though I got all these henchmen, I still feel like ish. Cause all of these other characters are taller than me by like 3/5. Those are legit, but my up smash is my favorite to kill with. Go ahead, DI all you want. There's still gonna be an E at the end of it. You want a melee? Forget it. I'd rather get lifted than fall. The only way they got me to brawl is cause they promised me there'd be tripping involved.
I might not be a queen, but I'm definitely a princess. Who you think you are, trying to claim my riches? You're a bum who mows lawns for rupees and thinks looks will make me wanna be a groupie. Do please give me the blonde hair, long weave, shortcuts. Run at the gauntlet, she goes. Apparently you only lay pipes for a pony. Either way the ship has sailed.
Been on the Terminal Bay. Nothing will make me ever fly away. Got a problem, just say it to my face. Man, I'll resolve it with the DK. Yeah, I'll resolve it with the DK. We be representing MC, that's the hand for life. Go down and cover history like Mr. Cloud. Zero Suit Sam, that's my wife. We are the Super Smash. We are the Super Smash. Yeah, we're the Super
Okay, let's switch screens back here for a second. Yeah, so we are in the middle of writing, creating the file path here. And we might want to also look at this function here, make sure that we're doing this correctly. So if we look at this, it's mod file whatever. So we don't have a slash in front of it. It's just like this. And it's very important that we, we want to just kind of take this code and edit it so that it's a little bit more reusable. So introducing something as simple as a leading slash could actually wreck things for us. So this is what we want to use for the file PNG here. Okay, so we just want to merge these together. So we have the len of the name of the file, the len of the base path, right? And then len all is both of these mixed together, and then we want to malloc. So it's been a while since I used malloc, so let's just do malloc now and get an example here. No example, huh? So I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to make an example once I... So I believe malloc actually does not take that many parameters. It's just, it's like this. Now, we might want to do a calloc instead. A calloc would probably be safer. And a calloc is the length of a single element and then the number of elements, I believe. So do we have a calloc now shortcut? Do we have a calloc now? Calloc now. Like, it's not a big performance hit. We might as well kind of, like, calloc it. So calloc, okay, 1 size of my struct times the number, right? So the number ideally is supposed to go over on this side, but I never like to use it that way. So calloc 1, and then what you're actually allocating. So so we'll do calloc 1, and then 1 times the amount of memory that you're allocating, right? So let's take this as a reference. Calloc now. Total memory in bytes here. Fine. For malloc now, so malloc should just be like, you know, int U32 pointer I'm just making an example in my code really quick for malloc as well. Okay, yeah, so we're just going to calloc the memory to be kind of safe about it. And where are we actually using this? So this is the file PNG. So file PNG equals this, right? And this is just the raw memory for it. So this is a char string. So CHR. Let's call it file PNG instead of that. Like, let's I'd rather just do this. So file PNG. We can make a note of. We can just make a note of what it originally was, right? And then here, file PNG, aka file PNG. Okay, so to create this file PNG, first it's going to be a null pointer, so char pointer to 0, right? So we have a typed null pointer is what we have there. And then we're going to calloc some memory, and if we calloc, we have to free after we're done with it. So, free calloc memory. So over here, we'll free the calloc memory. right? And all we gotta do is go free and then the file path, right? File path. Oh, it's not called file path though, it's called file name, right? Or file PNG. Yeah, file PNG is what we called it. So, file PNG slash file path. Yeah, so just free it there. And then, you know, if we've done this correctly, the next part is just to fill it out. So we need to go for, you know, int32 I equals 0, I is less than or equal to, I is less than len all I plus plus. Okay. And then we'll just have a little if statement for what we're looking for. So if I is less than mi base, then we copy from one thing, else if I is less than mi nof, else error out of bounds right, and so for when we're creating this, we'll create some max indices for these things, right? So, you know, int32, max index of the base is going to be the length of base minus 1, right? Because the base of the name is going to start at the beginning. And then int32 max index of the name of the file, that's going to come next, right? So, nof, that's going to equal the len all, or len nof plus len bas minus 1, right? We might want to just write it this way just because it's a little bit easier to understand what's going on, right? That way nof is inside here. Right, because bas is here in this variable, and then nof is here in this variable here. And if we use this number here, minus 1, it might be a little bit more confusing to read. So let's use this. So let's make a note of what we're doing here. So at vid iid 0095, and the time is 1 hour 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Create max index mi variables, right? Okay, so we're just creating these max index variables. And then here's where we're kind of going to write them, right? So the file PNG here, we're going to take this and say that, you know, file PNG I equals, and we're just going to take the first array of data, which is, where are you? So you are this guy right here. So we should probably really make a, let's say int32 nam bas, so name base, equals mod / like that. And the reason for that is that over here we're gonna put this in here. So this is the base name of the saved file. And at vid iid 0095. And the time is 1 hour, 8 minutes, and about 40 seconds. Or let's make this 42 seconds, because we like to be cool like everybody else. Okay, so the base name is just going to be mod /, which reflects the code over here, right? How we have this mod /, and then the file with the extension as the second component right here. So we're going to do the same thing. So name base. Okay, cool. So now that we have the base name, we know that the base name is the first thing we're going to cycle through here, right? So, because that's at the beginning. So we'll just take I, right? And then when we want to collect the next part of the path that we're kind of globbing together here, instead of the name of the base, we want the name of the PNG file. So not file PNG, but we want the actual input. We want the base name. So the name of the file without extension is what we're going to use. So we're going to take that, and we're going to say it equals name of file without extension. But then we're going to take, we need to make sure that this index is properly zeroed out now, right? So we're going to take the max index of this, right? So if you're less than, actually, if you're less than or equal to, right? These max indices are inclusive, right? Yeah, because they have a -1. So since these max indices are inclusive, so this max index here, and then when we exceed that max index, we'll be over here. And so we'll need to subtract, right? And we could do a -0 here. Okay, so a -0 here, and then max index base. And this is how we're going to kind of merge these together to get that relative file path. I feel like there's something else we're missing. Oh, there is something else we're missing. So we want to error check our inputs here. Okay, so error check inputs, right? So we're taking the code we already wrote, pasting it, changing it around, and also kind of trying to make it a little bit more robust here. So okay, so first of all, if chr pointer 0 is equal to nofwex, then error null string 2021. Null string nofwex 2021. How about that? Okay, the other thing we want to make sure isn't happening here is if strlen nofwex, PNG is 3 letters, and there's an extension, that's 4, right? So so if the length, oh, sorry, if the length of this is less than or equal to 4, error, no possible way name is valid 2021, right? So, and this is because .png is 4 characters, thus file name should be more than 4 characters, right? Okay, so now that we have that, we want to... What else do we want to do here? Also, if... now that we know that we have at least 4 characters, if the name of the file... If that first character is a slash, right? So if... if the name, if it has this, or if I think for escape sequences, I think we have to do this for a backslash, I think. Oh, hold on. No, we don't, because it's not a string, so we can kind of do this. I think that's fine. So... error. Do not put slash before base name, right? Because how we used over here, right? We don't have a slash before that base name, so we're going to keep it the same, just to keep things kind of simple, right? It's actually base folder. So yeah, we'll keep it like that. And that's a decent set of error checks, I think. Yeah, that's a decent set of error checks. Then right here we also have a problem. This pixel array is going to be inputted. So right here, we're going to say that, you know, pixel array, what else do we have here? Pixel width, pixel height. Yeah, we're going to input all of those. So int our U08 pointer, pix array, pixel array. Okay. In RGBA byte format. Okay. And then for this, we're going to do int32, pix width. Well, actually, what's pix width and pix height in here? It is an unsigned integer. So I guess if we're gonna keep to that, we might as well just keep it as a unsigned integer. It makes sense. It can never be negative, right? So U32 pix width, right? Because we used integer, I think. Yeah, unsigned int, so that's 32 bits. So pixel width, width in pixels of pix array. And this is U32 pix height. Height in pixels of pix array, right? So we have all these kind of variables here. And the next thing we want to do is... I don't know what we want to do next, but we'll find out after we've kind of put this in here. Yeah, pix width, pix height, the pixel array. So we're going to take all of this stuff, and it's going to be commented out. We can just comment this out for now. Or remove it. Okay. So, a bit big for the stack. Yeah, this is a bit big for the stack, but guess what? This is no longer on the stack, so we don't have to worry about that. Try saving 512, whatever. So this commentary, we don't care about this commentary anymore. What else don't we care about? Okay, so let's save that. And let's make a note that we want some more error checks here. So, we want a null check for the other pointer. So it's going to be a U08 pointer of the pixel array. And null pixel array supplied 2021. Right, make a little note. I'm gonna try to put some strings in here that have my name in here, just so that, nil str. This would be nil array. Yeah, just kind of normalizing this a bit. Okay, so that looks good. So, also we want to make sure that if PixWidth is less than or equal to if 0 equals PixWidth or 0 equals PixHeight, then we'll just say, you know, error invalid PNG size. Okay, yeah, so we got all these little input checks. That's good to make sure that we know what we're working with. Hex last color pick. So this thing here, I think originally we were going to create an image by kind of filling it, right? So, right, we created this pixel array, and then we kind of iterate through it and we fill it. However, we're going to save something this time, so all of this stuff here, we don't care about it anymore, right? We're not going to use this, so we can nuke this. Okay. And so what we essentially have is we have some error checks, we have the original save file code, and then some other stuff. So create the relative file path. So what is the relative file path? The relative... yeah, it is a relative file path. It's this thing here. I would like to have a note of what we're trying to create here. So I'm going to put file PNG right in the section name. Just so that right, there's a whole bunch of noise in here, and I want to know, well, what's the most important part of this section? Like, what are we trying to get, right? And the thing we're trying to get, or the thing we're trying to create, is this thing, right? This is the relative file path we want. So this int32, we're going to go over len all, which is both of these things glued together. And if we're in the first string, then we don't need any offset to extract characters from that first string. When we're in the second string, then we need to do this. And also what we could do is we could make this a little bit more robust and say that I is greater than or equal to 0, and I is less than or equal to this, right? And I is greater than or equal to mi base plus 1, and I, right? So this way we can just, it's a little bit more noisier, but if we want this else to catch if we made any mistakes, then knowing that, okay, we're exactly between 0 and this max index, and then we're exactly between this max index plus 1 and this max index, I think that's going to help us a bit. So we might want to make this look a bit nicer. So say, write it like this. So here's the two things we're between. We could also do a plus 1. And y, so this could be a plus 0. And then we could do the same thing over here, just kind of organize it a little bit better. So put this over here like that, and kind of like, just make it look better, right? So less than or equal to 0, plus what? Plus 0, nothing. 0 the beginning, right? And then this thing here is the max index. So yeah, something like this. It's a little bit more verbose, but it'll give us a little bit more protection, right? Because we're between the previous thing plus 1 and then the other bound. And then this thing here, because we're greater than this. Yep. Okay, yeah, that looks good to me. So yeah, all this, so we could use like a sprintf and something else to make this a little less clunky, but right now, if we don't know how it needs to be done, we'll just roll our own and, right, and then it's very obvious because like all the code is right here. Create relative file path, right, and we can kind of see what we're doing here for creating the relative file path. And file PNG is the thing we callocked using len all +1 for a null terminator. We can be really careful about this, right? We can say, you know, file PNG, and then we can take the, if we're doing this correctly, len all, we can take len all, and len all will be 1 out of bounds, so that should equal, 0, right? Right, so, make absolutely sure there is a null terminator at the end of all of this. Right, so we'll make sure there's a null terminator. The only reason we can do this, the only reason this is not out of bounds, is because when we did our calloc, we did len all +1 to make room for that null terminator, right? So that's the only reason we can do what we're doing, otherwise this would be erroneous. So at vid IID 95, and the time is 1 hour, 25 minutes, and I don't know, 16 seconds. So this is not out of bounds because of the calloc has a len all +1, right? Now, if we really wanted to be funny about it, we could do, you know, if we really want to be funny about it, we could do len all +1, because that's what we callocked. And then we could do a -1 like this, right? +1, -1, which is absolutely ridiculous. But if we want to make sure that we're not doing out of bounds access, and this looked kind of suspicious because we used len all, we used the length as an index. Using a length as an index accessor is suspect. So maybe we want to write it this way just to give ourselves a clue that, no, we know what we're doing. We actually do mean this. Here's the math. Here's the math for why we do this. Len all plus this was what we callocked. So this is actually the length, and then we -1 to get the maximum index, right? So we could write it like that. That'll just make it a little bit easier. So now that we have that in place, we have our null terminator. We're good there. Let's keep on looking at the code and see what else needs to change to get this to work correctly. So touch file, the file that we want to touch. Some result thing. If load PNG is included, then we're actually going to write the file to disk and return a result of that operation. If load PNG is not included, then we're just going to pretend here and let's make a note. So this message is kind of cut and pasted from some other code, so we should probably say like where this is coming from. Like, I think this is a decent message, but from lib/fileboy.f._, and then ... /n, or just make it obvious where this is coming from. And then maybe just another kind of thing going on here. Maybe something like that. But yeah, we just want to make it obvious where this is all coming from. And if we really are going to use a printf like this, we should really do a flush std out. Okay, so that looks good to me. Just a little warning. And then what is this stuff here? Greater than 1, pix width greater than 1. Why is this all here? Silence the compiler. Oh, yeah, because we don't actually use if we actually don't use load PNG, then we never actually use these arrays, and we don't want an unused variable warning. That's what this is about. So I understand what we're talking about. Silence the compiler. I got that. We don't need to revisit this. That's fine. I understand. And then we're going to free the memory, and then we're done, right? And then we're out of this section. And now we have a U32. What other types do we have? Because we created some types. We have an arrow type. We have an int32. Int32 and char. So define I32. How about define chr? Do we have a define for char? No, we don't. Is it in our shortcuts? Do we have a define shortcut we may have written earlier? Because I feel like we did, but maybe we didn't. Yeah, so we do have it. It's just that we didn't reload our shortcut. So we'll just go define chr, and we'll do const char. And that will eventually... we'll eventually have a shortcut for that. So also, we're going to define ERR for air. And it's going to be AAC 2020 fileboy halt, right? Like, if we have that correct. This is an older function, but I'm pretty sure we've been pretty consistent. Yeah, we've been pretty consistent, so that's awesome. Yeah, we've been consistent. That's awesome. So, I think those... Oh, U08. Why do I have a U08? Oh, U08 because of the pixel array. Define U08. Hold on. I have a macro for this. Define U08. Okay. Cool. So now that we have all these macros, we're going to make a little checksum for this section. And then we have to actually call it from somewhere, right? So we want to call it from PixSave. Okay, so we got 5 of these. Cool. Let's go down to the bottom of this section and paste this here. So, did we glue those macros onto the wrong thing? Well, did I do this wrong? Hold on. It does actually look like I may have screwed some stuff up here. Let's look at where we put those macros for a second. Save file to disk. Oh, did I not... What did... Okay, these section names are wrong. Right, this should be save file to disk here, because it's a big section for saving file to disk. And this... oh, this is save file. Is this save file PNG? Yeah, this is save file PNG. And did we screw it up over here as well, or is it a cut and paste error, or is it just no? It's not a cut and paste error. It's just that after we cut and pasted it, we made the mistake of relabeling this incorrectly. So it's just a save file PNG, right? And we can see the section for that. And then we can see the save to disk thing right here, right? We have these different labels. They're very similarly labeled, so I can kind of see why I made that mistake. Yeah, so I think that we're good here. I think that we have everything we need to save to disk, right? We're not actually going to use this here, so we just made it a string. And the reason for that is just to keep some remnants of what we cut and pasted to make it kind of easy to compare, right? So we could make a note that, we can make a note of where this came from, right? So let's make a note of that. So the time is 1 hour, 32 minutes, and, let's say 50 seconds. It's about to be 50 seconds. Okay, and this code is a rewrite of this here. So let's take this full file path to clipboard and say that this function is was made by copying and pasting we don't really need the drive it came from, but sure, why not? More context is better than less. You're smart enough to figure it out if you cloned it into a different directory. So this function was made by copying and pasting that and refactoring it to be more generally used, right? So that is what we did. Okay. So now that we have that here, the next thing is, before we even stub in the file, right? So PixSave hasn't even been stubbed in yet, but we still need to make sure this compiles. But let's figure out what this needs to be. So we have this exporting function. How do we want to do this? I guess we're going to do something like AAC 2020 PixSave, and let's do PAINT5D, right? We'll just call it PixSave and then PAINT5D. So it's like literally an overload for saving PAINT5D. And the problem with calling it this is that there's no camel case here. It's just it's literally a namespace with an overload, and then there's nothing to indicate that this is actually a function. So even though I like this, and even though this is terse enough, even though the do one thing and do one thing well is so specific that this should be all the context we need to know what this function does. However, there's no camel case. I don't like that. So let's say we have save file PNG right here. Why don't we give it a similar name, right? So we'll say save file PAINT5D. And then what we can do is we'll save the PAINT5D system, right? So we'll say void here. And we'll say void here. And when we save the file, we're just going to say save file PNG, and the name of the file is literally going to be paint5d.png, like that. And I don't care what people say. I think file name extensions should be all capital. I know the current convention as of late has been file extensions should be lowercase. I disagree with that. So yeah, save file paint5d.png. Then we're going to take the pixel array. So we're going to take pixname, right? We're going to just strip it out of here. So pixname is right here. We're going to take that guy. And then we're going to say that the width is 512. And the height is 512. Right? And we can make a note of what these are. Right, so we could make a note of what these parameters are. So if we look at FileBoy, this is nofwex, this is pixarray, this is pixwidth, and this is pixheight, right? That's what these parameters are. So for pixel array, sometimes I use CPU pixels to make it obvious that it is CPU side allocation of data. Yeah, it's a little bit clunky, but that'll work, right? Save file, paint5d, right? And then we could do the same thing for tau depot and whatnot. I would actually like to save all the systems, so that we can save the internal state of the game can actually be saved. All of the data for the game should not be stored in variables. It should actually be stored in a texture, right? And the texture has a CPU side allocation. And if we save all the textures, we have a snapshot of the current game state at a certain point in time. So I do like that. So we're going to take this and we're going to say save file tau depot. Right, and that's called tau depot because if we look at here, here's tau depot memory. We'll paste this, and then we'll call this tau depot, right? So we're just name it directly based on what this is, right? So if we highlight the colors here, we see an obvious pattern here. And by keeping the .png as part of the name, it's going to make it easier to find find these, right? Because we can go towdepot.png, where are you, right? Because this is actually going to save as this in a folder, and then if we go Control F for this file name, we can actually see where it's generated in the code, and that's really going to help us a lot. So now that we have this, it looks like we don't actually need any defines, strangely enough, because of just because of the signatures. However, if we want to make the code a little bit more readable, we could use a cast somewhere. So if you look at file boy, U32s are for the pixel width. So let's just do that. So let's define U32, and then undef U32. And this is already long enough. I just don't want it taking up space here. And we already know what the form of that is, but that'll just give us a reminder of, hey, unsigned 32-bit integer. And so that way when we look at this function call, without using any IntelliSense or any referencing any other documentation, we can now know what the type of these two parameters should be. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Like, I'm pretty satisfied with this current stubbed-in functionality. The next part is before we can even wire this up to the keyboard, we have to stub in the system. And before that, we need to make sure that what we wrote over here on the left screen actually will compile. So let's take this for a spin and kind of see what happens, right? And what time is it? It is 8:17. So hopefully, if we're really lucky, we can get this all working before 9 when I have to eat food. So, 248 in file boy. So let's go look at what kind of stupid things we've done. 248 expected, whatever the heck. Okay, so that's pretty simple. We forgot to close off the parameter list. So we're getting close. We're getting really close to getting some type of feedback. So missing terminating whatever character. Okay, so this looks like it does need to be some type of an escape sequence. So if we go to if we go look at this is going to need to be like that, right? And we can make a note. This is backslash. This is a backslash character, and this is F / character and a backslash character, right? Okay, cool. So that looks good. Let's give it another run, see what else we screwed up. We just gotta accept the fact that we're gonna screw stuff up, right? We're not even gonna pretend that we're not gonna screw it up. We already know we are. So initialization makes integer from a pointer. So yeah, we called it an int32. It's obviously a string, so that is a big no-no. So let's go look at where that is. So the name of the base, this should be a character, CHR. This is also a character. We should have 3 characters, right? Because we should also have up here the name of file with extension. And it is there. Name of file with extension should be the last thing we tack on, and it is right here. So that looks good to me. Let's give it another run. Initialization makes integer from a pointer. Did we not make the type def for character correctly? Okay, let's go look at that for a second. So char, oh, no, it's, so, okay, this needs to be a pointer. It's a char pointer, and this is a char pointer. We just want to make it obvious what is a pointer and what is not. So we are going to always, we're never going to make type defs or defines that encode this pointer character in them. I just find it's very error prone when you do stuff like that. So, yeah. Also, this char pointer here, did we make sure it's a char pointer here? Yeah, we made sure it was a char pointer there. We just screwed it up here for some reason. We even got the casting right here for the null pointer. Okay, yeah, so this file PNG is null, but then we calloc to get some memory. So this, okay, that looks good. Okay, cool. So let's save this and rerun it, and hopefully we're done making stupid mistakes, but we'll see what we did now. Assignment of read-only location. Oh, yeah, so we used a const character, but we actually need to not have that be a const character here. So, so this thing right here should not be a const char. And the define we used was const char like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to define... let's just do txt for text. You know, and just call it char. Right? So a little bit odd, but that'll do, right? So we'll make a thing called txt for text. We're going to insert that right beneath the chr here. So duplicate this, call this txt, and now this is 5, and this one's 6. Okay. Then, in this code, what we can do is, where we're using char, depending on the situation, it needs to not be a const char. So this is a const char. This first thing, const char. This second thing here is not const char. It's going to be txt. And so you can do txt here like that. File png. Calloc it, right? Because it's not const. We want to calloc that memory. And then use it. Fill it out. Once it's filled out, apply a null terminator here. Then we're going to touch the file before we try to save the file. Otherwise, this won't quite work. Load PNG works pretty well right out of the box, but it does sometimes need a little bit of help, depending on where you're saving files to. And lastly, we're going to free the memory we calloc'd after we're done using it. Yeah, that all looks good. Or at least the overview of it looks good. We don't know what else we may have screwed up. So, and the reason why we do this, we kind of check everything after we're done, is just because we don't want these little screw-ups to interrupt the flow of our thought, right? Like, they're all just stupid syntactical mistakes. And so it's, even though it sucks that we're still making stupid mistakes, you think we would be good enough coders not to make these stupid mistakes. It's good that we save them till last, because it reinforces how many stupid mistakes we make when trying to type proper code, and it also means that we don't have to get distracted by all the stupid little mistakes when we're trying to work out an algorithm, right? Okay, so that's there. So the functionality, this functionality in FileBoy has been stubbed in. We don't know if it works yet. We're going to hope it works. And then it's referenced over here, so save file PNG, and save file PNG is being used over here. Let's put a little dash line. Okay, we're gonna clean this up a little bit, or put it into kind of the style that I like to use, where if there's more than one function in a section, I like to kind of like put a little dashed line there to signify that. We can remove some excess padding there. Okay, that looks good. So now we need to get this into the build system, right? So we're going to close all this stuff, and we're going to open up this library chain. And right now, PixSave does not exist, so we're going to fix that. So we're going to take this define here and be like, bam, PixSave. And what number are you? You're going to be 18, right? Because you come after 17. Pixel save to disk. We have just enough room for that. Okay, cool. So then we're going to take all these numbers here, and we're going to shift them up. And now we have 26 systems. And then where we have this 25, we're going to change that 25 to 26. And then we still need to create the files for this. But this is the high-level overview of what we're directing to go together. But then we also need to go into the libchan. So go into here, lib, and go look for libchan. So libchan bottom, libchan top. And let's put the bottom comes first, or bottom comes second. Sorry, bottom comes second, so bottom will go on this side. The top file will go over here. And we need to edit this file so that it accurately reflects what's going on here. So there are 26 different libraries. So we'll make another macro for the 26th library chain. This is the maximum value, so it should always match the last entry. So there we go there. Let's keep on scrolling down. Okay, so we got all these things for including the different code files. And if we look at this, 18 is what we want to make room for, right? So we're going to go down to 18, or 17, I guess, between 17 and 18. So 17 and 18, PixName, and then PixSave is how we're going to do it, right? So PixSave is saving data in PixName. That's why PixName needs to come next. So now that we know that, PixName, I think the first thing we're going to do to keep this kind of simple is we can duplicate this. We're going to duplicate PixName. We're going to paste it. And then we're going to call this one PixSave. Right? This is called PixSave now. The one that came before it was PixName. And then we're going to increment this, right? So this PixSave should be 18. Let's make absolutely sure. Yes, PixSave is 18. So then 18, 19. Oh, we still made a mistake here. Right here, this needs to be 18. And yeah, 18 and then 18. So this is, 19 and 19. And this is 20, and this is 20 over here. And this kind of sucks. This is, like, tedious as hell. And, it's more work when we have to insert a system that we didn't expect that we'd have to insert. It's less work when we just have to tack it on to the end. But like I said, I don't care about flexibility. I care about clarity of the code, right? So we're going to have this trade-off between flexibility and clarity. The more rigid and less abstract the code is, the easier it is to find where everything is, right? So that is the trade-off, and sometimes because of that trade-off, we have to do stupid, ridiculous, tedious stuff like this, and it completely sucks, right? So, so if we highlight these, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, hold on, 22, oh, I just skipped over, 22, 21, 20, ooh, 20 is, yeah, 20 kind of sucks, because, right, 20, 19 and 19, and 18 is the PixSave. PixName is still 17. Okay, cool. So we did it for the data. Now we have to do the exact same tedium for over here, for the function file. So we're going to find PixSave. We're going to do it the exact same way, or actually we're going to find PixName and do the exact same process over again. So PixName is... Oh, I was a little confused. I'm like, PixName is not 16. What am I looking at? Oh, PixName is right here. Okay, so PixName. Let's color that really quick. Okay, so we're going to take it, and we're going to duplicate it. PixName stays at 17, correct? Let's double check that. PixName is 17, PixSave is 18. Okay, so out of this thing that we just copied here for PixName, this is going to be PixSave. And now we're just going to increment everything up. So, right, so this 17 becomes an 18. 18 becomes a 19. 19 becomes a 20. Okay, 20s become a 21. Okay, 21s become 22s. 21s become, ooh, I screwed that up. So let's, how can I screw that up so easily? So 20, 21, let's see what name PixLoad. So PixLoad, let's double check here. So PixLoad is supposed to be 21. This is pixload, it's 21. Okay, cool. So let's keep on going. So 21 to 22, right? We're incrementing by 1. (22 to 23, increment by 1. 23 to 24, increment by 1. 24 to 25, increment by 1. 25 to 26, increment by 1. And then we are done, right? The last system is PAINT5D. PAINT5D is number 26, so we are good. Okay, so there's still more stuff we gotta do to get this in here. So it doesn't look like there's anything else here. But in the bottom file, we kind of do some error checking, right? So if we look at, we want to keep the same order of everything. So if you look for PixName here, PixName, we're going to say that PixSave comes after PixName, right? So we're going to take all this code here, we're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it in here. And now we have this duplicated chunk, but we're going to call this PixSave now, PixSave. And then right here, instead of PixName, we're going to use PixSave. Okay, cool. So we got this little redundancy check here. Okay, just checking to make sure that the syntax is preserved. Okay, so now let's go down here. So we got these numbers here, and then 17. So PixName, and then remember we're going to change this around. So if blah 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 air and if. So this is the whole cluster of stuff we want to cut and paste. So we'll cut that, paste it, and then instead of PixName, this is going to be PixSave, and PixSave is 18. So in order to fix this, we're going to just take all of this, copy it, and then go like this, shift it all up, and then this will be 26, right? And the last thing is PAINT5D. It is system number 26, so we're good there. Let's just check PixSave. PixSave, that looks correct. PixName. Good, looks correct there. Okay, cool. So let's keep on scrolling down and see what other kind of redundancies we have here. So we have a cleanup section. And once again, after PixName, we have the PixSave. So we're going to duplicate this. And right here, we're going to say PixSave. Okay, and this is just cleanup so that we're not injecting other people's code with a whole bunch of macros, right? So if somebody uses our code base, we don't want to pollute their code with macros when they include our code base, unless it's some type of macro that's absolutely vital that we declare. Okay, so now that we have that, let's kind of scroll down a little bit further. Okay, so we're out of here. There is still one more thing we need to do, which I sometimes forget, but I haven't forgotten this time. So there's a thing called F macros. So let's find F macros. F macros. Oh, we have a top and bottom file for this. So let's open up, let's put the top file on the left. Keyboard handlers, some other stuff, some other junk, inits, and then we have some no init somethings, init nones, right? So init none, and we have all of these in like an auto-generated kind of script here. And I'm going to highlight these really quick, because it always makes me paranoid, because there's a lot of leverage going on here, and that makes an ability to kind of totally royally screw things over here. So we're going to make sure that every one of these things is colored, and indeed they are. So then what we're going to do is we're going to nuke this entire section and rebuild it. Okay, so we're going to nuke it, we'll save this, and then we have pixel backup, and then before pixel backup, we're going to have PixSave, right? PixSave comes before pix backup. So we'll copy that, we'll paste that in there, and now we have this new source. Then we'll take all of this source here, so source, find key, and replace keys. We'll take all this, we'll copy it to the clipboard, and then we'll run our script to auto-generate these new templates, right? So, so everything here is auto-generated. In C++, you would probably use some type of template function, but like I said, some of this stuff is very clunky and rigid and hard to work with smoothly, but the payoff is that the code should be kind of very clear, and you should be able to see how everything is connected. So after that, I think that's the only thing we need, right? We just need to declare that function, Down here, this looks like it's for reference, and it looks like this reference is pretty old. I do not feel like updating this reference right now. I just want to get things working. It does say that it is not guaranteed to be good, but we do know that it's after Pix name, so we could, you know, put it here. PixSave, Pixel Saver. Saves system data to hard disk. Okay, that's what that does. We don't know what these numbers should be. These numbers are no longer reflective of what they should be. Also, the silence thing needs to know about PixSave. So let's go into silence really quick. So silence.data. Right, we have a new thing called PixName, and it comes, or PixSave, sorry, PixSave, and it's right here, right? So UO8 PixSave, and has silence code been added to the subsystem? Actually, it has, because we already created a logging system, and it made sure to reference this silencer class. So we'll stub that in there. And then the next thing is we need to make sure that it's here, right? So since this is a new system, anytime it's a new system, we want to turn it on. We want to turn logging on for any new system. So PixSave equals on. We'll turn the logging on, which turning the logging on means that the silencer code is 0, right? That's why on is 0. And that's why we made these defines, just because this part here is kind of confusing because of the way we decided to write it. So Pixel Saver now has logging turned on, and it is represented in here. So now that that's represented, so no is an underscore, and there's no underscores in this list anymore. So this to-do here, crash on vital to-do, finish adding silencing code for systems. We're just gonna comment this out. At the moment this task is done, but as the code base grows, this may be become a to-do task again. Do not delete. Date 2021-01-16. Right, so just a note of like why we're not going to delete it. And do we have enough room where we can kind of... Okay, nice. What else? So we've stubbed in, we've looked at fmacros top, but we gotta look at fmacros bot. So we got loop tick, we got init none, and we see pixload, and PixSave has an init none, right? So we're going to do an undef fmacros PixSave, or actually no, PixSave is before pixel backup, right? Yeah, because it's PixSave and then pixel backup. That's how we decided to do it. So init none. And yeah, so pixel saver is right there. And I think that's all we're doing. All we're doing is kind of just cleaning up after ourselves. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So one more thing to get this integrated into the project is we need to go look at the main file, which we don't look at too much, but the main function file here. And this is the highest level of the game engine. So somewhere in here we're going to have all of those init none functions, right? So init or init none, and we can see that that PAINT5D is now, so this looks pretty well updated. So after PixName, we're going to put PixSave in here, right? So, you know, AAC 2020 PixSave init none. And then for this, we're just going to take all this and just move it up, right? So we're just going to take it, paste it right here, and then 26 is now the libchan for PAINT5D. PAINT5D is now system number 26 in the library chain, right? Like the subsystem index it gets in, as far as the keyboard listener is concerned, is it's 1. It's subsystem 1. But in the library chain, it's number 26. Okay, so right here, we need to do the same thing over here, right? So remember, we did PixName, and then right after PixName, we do PixSave. So we can highlight PixName here and see where we need to insert stuff. So you can just go right here and say, you know, f macros, PixSave, and then init none. Give it a 0. It looks like the init nuns are taking 0s, and the inits are taking x's, but the x's are also 0s. This is just a way to kind of visually see which ones are inits and which ones are init nuns by using some fast thinking rather than slow thinking. And I mean how the brain processes information, right? So you could also say that we have written it this way so that our brain can quickly lint the code for us. Okay, so libchan is in there, and now we have pixel saver, init none. Everything I think is in here, but you know, usually I make some type of mistake when I do this, but that's why these macro files have a lot of redundancies in them to catch me when I make mistakes, because this is all kind of like, this was a lot of work to just get this in here. But now that it's in here, it's in there, you know, it's like, it is, right, no flexibility here, it is like built in, right, we built this system, this subsystem is now in, the game engine. Okay, so now that we've done all that, let's see what type of compiler errors we get. If we're lucky, the compiler error will be in PixSave.f. So static assertion failed. Okay, so we have a static assertion that failed. F macros top. Okay, so let's go look at F macros top. Let's just open it up over here. Unless we have it already open over here, then I don't want to do that. Cancel. Yeah, it's already open here. So if we look at that, that's a static assert, and like I'm not sure how I feel about these static asserts, but I'm like, well, let's just keep it here for now. But yeah, so we kind of made an insert, so anything after 16 has been shifted, right? So tau depot and tau sync are probably 23 and 25 now, right? So if we look at 23 and 25, tau depot and tau sync, 23 and 25 now. And if you look at this, tau depot and tau sync, yeah, we need to increment them by 1. So we're going to do 23 and 25. And I don't know how I feel about these static asserts like this. I feel like it's just makes things harder on me for no reason. But I like redundancy. This redundancy makes me feel a little bit safer when I'm, you know, messing with the internals at such a level, right? Because when you mess if you mess with the overall project structure at such a high level, you are leveraging a lot of ability to do a lot of heavy damage, right? So I'm very paranoid that everything goes together correctly, especially at that high level. So let's give this a run. It looks like it might actually be properly compiling here. Oh, damn. Okay. I was expecting, I mean, I guess, you know, what do you expect? Because this pixel saver wrapper is pretty trivial, right? It's just a function call, with some cast and whatnot, so, you know, it's not something we would expect to kind of screw up. Okay, so one more thing to get this working. We need to figure out where the keyboard bindings are and insert this new function call, right? To do that, how are we going to find those keyboard bindings? Well, the first thing is, well, open up the keyboard bindings file, right? So open up the keyboard bindings. So if we open up keybind.data, and we look at what kind of things we have, in the PAINT5D system, we have a keyboard binding for the pattern, and then we also need a keyboard binding for the save, right? I don't think we have one for saving stuff yet, because we didn't do that yet. So we're going to make a new binding. So we're going to go P5D out. We're going to call it P5D out. And I feel like we already may have made this. We did. We already made it, but we forgot to initialize it. Yeah. It's there, right above Pat, but we totally forgot to initialize it. That's fine. Yeah, we can just say, you know, oh, and so we can make a note of here that this one is for so at vid IID, and it's 9:05, and the time is 2 hours 9 minutes and let's say 30 seconds. And we'll just say binding saving save of PAINT5D data to O key. O is for output. Put. We're using O because it is on the right hand and is something we think we will use less frequently. That's the reason why we're using it. Also, the S key is already used, I believe, right? Like, if we look for S for save, I'm pretty sure we've already used it, right? Yeah, also S is already used, right? Also, S key is already used. What else do we need to know about what we're writing here? Oh, well, we probably want to know what we're calling, right? So, if we press O, that'll lead to this, right? So we can make another note, right? So we can copy this and say that at 2 hours 11 minutes and say call that 10 seconds, that we are done writing this, you know, done writing, right? So done. Yeah, so we're just explaining that P5D out is the keyboard binding for saving the PAINT5D data to disk, and it's going to invoke this function here. So quick summary of that. Okay, cool. So now that we have this binding, and let's go look for this in the code, right? Because we know this is already bound to the keyboard, so that would be the quickest thing we can look for in the source to figure out where it is. So paint5d.f keybind.d, so this is where it is. Let's move this over to the right, though, because it's the function file, and functions should be on the right monitor, or the right screen, whatever you want to call it. And now that we're in here, let's go look for that. Overwrite editor with default offsets. Save PAINT5D system data to disk as PNG file. That is a mouthful, but you know what? I'm okay with doing that because it gives you a lot of information about what's going on, and it doesn't violate our column limit. This does look a little bit weird for a section. Let's just go with it, right? So let's take all of this, kind of copy it, paste it, and now the character key is going to be P5, instead of P5D pat, it's going to be P5D out, and we can echo that command, sure, that's fine, and then this isn't the command we want this command here, so we already have it in our notes, we can kind of paste it right there. Save file, paint5d, and it should be hard-coded, right? It's hard-coded to have a specific file name, right? So paint5d png, right? so we can make a note that this saves what the file name is. So saves file /paint5d.png, right? So if we want to know exactly what's going on, this is exactly what's happening. And at vid iid 0095, and the time is 2 hours, 13 minutes, and let's say 45 seconds. Okay. For testing, we will want to use the p/p5d pat. Hold on. Key before saving to disk. So we have some type of meaningful pattern to look at in our MS Paint software of choice. MS Paint software of choice. That is kind of a weird way to phrase it. But yeah, so that is what we want here. Yeah, so that's all stubbed in. It's stubbed in, it's ready to go. We're really hoping that we didn't do any screw-ups, because we've done a lot of work here. And it is almost 9 o'clock, so it's almost time to eat food and whatnot. So, we are going to try to get this running. We're going to try to get it running before we go off and eat food. And we're also going to try to we're going to try to get these hotkeys working so that we can actually save the data. And oh, okay, so it's compiling. Cool. So I'm really hoping this is going to work and not like crash on me, right? So here we're in the PAINT5D system, and when we press the P key, we want to press the P key for pattern, right? Well, nothing crashed, so that's good. And then we want to press the O key for output. And nothing crashed. Okay, we're going to close this. And we're going to hope that we have something, because this is, Okay, well, first of all, it says paint5d.png, so that's not quite right. But it's in the correct folder, so that's a step in the right direction. Let's take a look at here and see if we have something. I am hoping that we have something. Okay, so it is... let's open it up with something else for a second. Open with paint.net. So we got something, but it's not what I expected, because it doesn't look like the... It looks like our test pattern. Oh, we can see a slight grid. I don't know if that is... So here's the thing. We're expecting a lot of black chunks. We're expecting a lot of unused chunks here, and that's not what I'm seeing. We got this checker kind of thing going here. That doesn't make sense to me. Some of the values should be 0, right? Yeah, if we did it correctly, some of the values should be 0. So it could be that the pattern we drew was improper, or it could mean that we never drew our pattern in the first place. I think we never drew our pattern in the first place, honestly. So don't save this. We're going to delete this. And we're going to look at this draw default offset thing. Like, why is that not... So I know we had like a default fill pattern, so I'm wondering if that is interfering somehow. Or maybe we did all this logic and then we just forgot to pack it into the array, right? Like, maybe we forgot that. So if you look at this, we got CPU pix is this pix name, CPU pix. Good. And if we look at where CPU picks, okay, we're clearing it right here, supposedly. And then here, we're looping through everything. So, my guess is maybe... I think we're never doing this. Right? I think that... that's my guess, that we're not actually setting any of these values for some reason. If we look at the code... we got PAINT5D put right here. Are we not actually putting it on the... that would be my guess, that PAINT5D put... Well, even if PAINT5D put wasn't working properly, you still would expect the canvas to at least be cleared. So what we're going to do is, we're going to do like a log here, and say that we're... log, and we're going to say exiting... we're gonna log begin. Right, we're gonna log this here. And then over here, we're gonna log the same thing. And I have no clue why this isn't working. Okay, so we're logging it. So here's where we're calling it. Here's the function. Log when we enter the function. Log when we exit the function. I think that the reinitialization that's going on may be overriding or foiling our efforts, right? Every time we press the key, we're seeing that the code is reinitializing, and I'm going to guess that that is what is causing our problems. So let's, if we can take a look at the log messages and see what order we're seeing things, and that will kind of give away what the problem is. So a log not declared, we gotta declare that. So let's duplicate this and create a log macro, and the log macro will be our 8th macro for this section, or the 7th macro. Why did I say, I don't know, 7th macro. So then let's go up to the top of the section, duplicate this, say that log is going to be equal to the info any command. So info any. So the reason it's written that way is that the function is called info and the overload is any, right? So it takes any kind of data. So it's a generic logging function. Okay, cool. So we have that. Let's rerun that. And it's almost 9, so we'll have to finish this up in another video, I think, because eating food will take a little bit of time. It's my 1 meal per day, and therefore it's kind of a large meal, right, where I just eat anything I want, no rules, right? And that way we're not distracted by eating food can take a lot of time, and so batching it all in one place makes it a little bit faster. Okay, so we got these keys, and we notice that, you know, the init call count keeps on going up. Well, I guess it kind of makes sense that we have to reload it when we press one of these keys, but the thing that should not be happening right now is if I press, like, the V key, or any of these other keys, we're still reinitializing the system, so that's a big problem. So what I think is happening is that the reinitialization is overwriting the pattern that I'm putting down. So if we click P, we're going to find that out really quickly. So I'm going to hit P, and I see the begin and the end for this, but actually it looks to me that maybe I'm wrong there, because it says begin and end right here. So it looks like it's being called. So I don't know what's going wrong. I don't know why it is. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on. But we're getting close. We're getting super close. Now, the problem now is that we didn't save it, though, so it's not going to be in here yet. Okay, so we're going to save this, and then we're going to make a note of the more push-ups we have to do. So we're going to eat... actually, no, we're going to do our push-ups before we eat, because if I'd like to be able to relax, and having the fact that I need to do push-ups on my mind is not going to be helpful to me. So I'm just going to make a note here, 9 p.m. To do, let's do 40 more push-ups. All right, 20 per hour. Yeah, I'm going to do 40 push-ups. Let's take a look at the push-up list here. So we're going to increment this already. So we're going to say it's as good as done, right? So do what you say you're going to do. So 120 is going to be 160 now. And then the Saturday total, really? Saturday total, we're going to add 40 to this. That's going to make it 160 here. And we're going to add 40 to the week total as well. So the week total, it gets 40 more, so that's 650. And I do not want to do push-ups, right? I don't want to do this, but I don't want to be chubby either. So let's do it. So I'm going to do these push-ups right after I get off the stream. Let's look at the title screen. So PAINT5D camera PixSave O, that's what we're doing. Part 25 of PAINT5D Sprint. So the next thing is going to be part 26. PixSave Part 2, I guess, is what it's going to be. So come back in maybe an hour, 2 hours, I don't know when, and we'll do PixSave Part 2. Actually, once we hit midnight, we're not allowed to work anymore, so we're going to have to get what we need to get done before midnight, and hopefully we can get a good visual of what's going on in our system if we can dump this out to a PNG file. So yeah, we're out of here for now. We'll be back.